Oh hey, you're here again. If you haven't watched any of my other reviews, I haven't exactly been the most positive I could be. I left off the Six King Labyrinth review noting that I've yet to give a track even a 5 out of 10. Like, the highest score I've given was Volcanic Skyway 4 with a 4.5. Even then, I lumped all the Volcanic Skyways together, so the actual highest score I've given was Incendia Castle with a 3.5. I could easily see how this could lead to the notion that I don't like custom tracks, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Really, I love custom tracks, I honestly do. I could sit here and complain about tracks all day if that wasn't obvious enough. It's what I'm good at, it's what I do. But what if I reviewed a track that I actually liked? Wow, Luigi is capable of liking a custom track? No way! Surprising, I know. But I've been thinking, what is my favorite track? My least favorite would probably be ASD of course, because ASD of course it is. Actually no, it's not. Believe it or not, there's one track out there that I consider to be even worse than ASDF course. What? First one gets it correctly gets bragging rights. But what would my favorite track be? That's a difficult question to answer, and an easy answer to question. My number one favorite track is constantly fluctuating depending on what day of the week it is. Sometimes it's this one, sometimes it's that one, you never know. I might even argue that there is no one track that I consider to be my favorite. There are just so many good ones out there. But two tracks have caught my attention since the very beginning, since the day I first got CTGP, and both are strong contenders for my personal favorite. Those two tracks are, of course, Crystal Plains by Sneaky and Twin Peaks by Such T93A. That doesn't sound right. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's German. Let's throw it in the Google Translate. I think it's German. It looks German.
Such 93A.
There, Twin Peaks by
Such 93A.
who wins an honorable mention award for worst username ever. The winner of that award is, of course, me. Addiction 93A. So, like Six King and Incendia Castle, I see Crystal Plains by Sneaky and Twin Peaks by Such T as two sides of the same coin. They're both happy, little cozy, little village tracks, kinda ruralish. How can you go wrong with that? Crystal Plains features a water fountain, a windmill, a bridge, moving ramps, and a cave. And Twin Peaks features a train, a drivable river, a shorter bridge, a tunnel, and cows. Lots and lots of cows. Okay, maybe not that many. Now I know that I'm not exactly breaking new grounds when I say that Crystal Plains and Twin Peaks are good tracks. From what I've seen, they're among the most beloved tracks of the community. But I never pretended to be above going after easy targets, so let's get to it. We'll start off with Crystal Plains because reasons. You start off with a full view of the village. It's bouncing with life. It's got multicolored houses with some actual depth, oh my god, plenty of bushes and trees, that wavy bridge in the background, a nice landscape, little crates and barrels here and there for movement meadows, etc. Needless to say, it gives a good first impression, and it sets the tone for the rest of the track pretty well. Take your first turn, and here you get a good view of the water fountain. It has crystals, it has water, it has crystals inside the water, it's cool. You can do some tricks on it too if you want. Then you go into this thing. I don't know what it is, but it's there, and it looks nice. So there. The cave looks cavey, the bridge is bridgy. I'm running out of stuff to talk about already. Part of me just wants to leave it at it's self-evident in how good it is, just look at it. Because I mean, just look at it. But Volcanic Skyway was also self-evident in how bad it was, so now I actually gotta do the work. I'm trying my best here. I'm not used to being positive. I'm trying. The track looks like how it's supposed to look, I guess. I like the bigger textures. I might be wrong here, but I feel like this track has its textures a little more spread out, or wider than most. Maybe it's because the roads themselves are pretty wide, I don't know, but whatever it is, I like it. It helps give the track some room to breathe, since this track is busy. It's got a lot going on. There's a lot of eye candy everywhere. Wheelbarrows, stacks of logs, these structures moving the speed ramps, all that stuff. There's a lot to look at, but there's never too much. It's never overwhelming. It has just the right amount of stuff in it. You can go pretty much anywhere and find a good shot. It's going to be difficult to make a thumbnail for this one. There are so many places to choose from. I think you'll get the point already. It looks nice. What about Twin Peaks? Twin Peaks by Sushta. Does it have the looks? Does it look? Let's see. Twin Peaks, also known as the Good Peaks, is a lot more rough around the edges than its counterpart. You don't get to see very many glamour shots. It isn't as smooth as Plains. The first view of the track is covered up by the mountain path in front of you. Initially, it's sort of a letdown, but as the track goes on, it gets better, trust me. As you climb the mountain, you get a good aerial view of the village. Again, it doesn't look as nice as Plains does, but I still think it has its own little charm to it. It works. I don't know how or why, but it just works, and I'm not going to question it. Admittedly, the tunnel is pretty bland. There could be something more added here. Maybe some lanterns or torches or something, but that's just me. Besides, it is over pretty quickly, so I can't complain too much. Moving on to the river section, it looks very different from everything else. I don't know why
Zuchter.
decided to switch the style around here, but it sure did happen. Now, instead of the stylized, cartoony textures you saw before, you get realistic grass and water and trees and ferns and stuff. Ordinarily, realistic textures in Mario Kart Wii go with each other about as well as the bad peaks at 50cc, but here it actually looks surprisingly decent. I don't know how, but he pulled it off. He did it. It doesn't look like trash. Kudos. For the remainder of the track, you drive around the village with these adorable little cows walking around and all that good stuff. One thing I really like about this village is that it actually feels like a village. Of course, it's shaped very oddly for a village, it's a racing track, it has to be, but it isn't just the same two houses copy-pasted over and over. A lot of the village is the same two houses copied and pasted, but it's not all of it. You got the town hall, the barn, this thing right next to the barn with the stairs that I could never climb up all the way. It's got it all. I think the buildings and trees and stuff are scaled pretty large in comparison to other tracks. And again, the large scale is a good thing here because aside from the houses and trees and signs and what have you, it really doesn't have a whole lot. But the size of these decorations makes you think that there's a lot more going on than there actually is, which is pretty smart. If these were smaller, the track would look way emptier. There's enough variety to not get too repetitive, and they're scaled large enough so that you don't actually notice the repetition and emptiness. Deliberate or not, this was a good choice for decoration. Finishing off the lap, you get a bunch of signs to your right of Touch C bragging about all the big name distributions the track is in. It's like, we get it, you made a good track, oh my god. And now for the part where we talk about how the tracks play and make it abundantly clear that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Haha, woo! The things that make Crystal Plains a good track to play are kind of hard for me to put into words. I wasn't entirely kidding when I said that last sentence. I hardly have a clue as to what I'm supposed to say here. I could try to talk about the overall gameplay, but there's really nothing much to be said here. It plays pretty well. I'm sure you've played it for yourself. If you haven't, then just take my word for it. Let me dictate your opinions. But yeah, Crystal Plains is a good layout and all, but there's gotta be more to it than that, right? Let's just go over a couple aspects of the track design that I think really exemplify why this track is worthwhile. I mean, what else am I supposed to talk about? Real quick, this bridge is cool, right? I know it's just that part from BCWii retextured, but it's still cool. And even cooler is the fact that if you shroom off the ledge like this, it teleports you back onto the track. I have no idea how Sneaky managed to do that. That is awesome. I probably won't ever need it, but it's nice to have. It's cool. It's cool. Down here in the wheat farm, you'll get a much larger, wider, open area for you to drive around in. Well, the road itself is still more or less the same, but there aren't as many walls and large structures around. It's a lot more spacious and country, I guess. And with this open area comes a lot of shortcut opportunities. You can go to the right of this house here, hop off the boost, and land on the roof. Ain't that something? And then, if you fall down over here, you can land inside this wheelbarrow. Good place to hide. If hide and seek allows for custom tracks, you should try this spot. This itself doesn't have anything to do with shortcuts, I just thought it was cool. The actual shortcut involved with this is, you like right off the roof onto the road, you know what I mean. I'm pretty sure you can cut across the wheat field too. Or maybe it was the hay. I don't know. Honestly, I don't practice these cuts too much. I don't practice anything in general, so I often have a hard time figuring out where this cut starts, but that's okay, because I never take it anyway. Now, I didn't put these cuts here because I thought they really boosted the track up. I don't think the addition of shortcuts really says anything about a track's quality, especially if it's just a simple corner cut, but they're nice to have anyway. They show the creator thought it through at least a little bit, or if they didn't, then they were creative enough to implement it in some way. With these, I couldn't tell you whether they're actually worth it to take or how much time they save, but I just thought it was a nice break from the linearness of the rest of the track. This wheat farm section, in general, is a breath of fresh air, especially the dirt. One thing I feel often gets overlooked in custom tracks that take place on dirt roads and grassy plains and all that is the bumpiness of the road. Not even just the road, but the ground. Oftentimes with these kinds of tracks, the road itself is usually pretty flat, maybe it has the edges raised a little bit to give the illusion of depth. If it's remarkably unremarkable, it'll usually follow a straight path with consistent width rather than a curvier road with varying width. I know dirt roads are still man-made, but come on, it's boring. Here in Plains, it's not that different, but, different. It's more bumpy than usual. We're not talking DK Mountain levels of bumpiness, but it's got a fair amount. It's not as smooth as the rest of the track. It feels different. It feels new. It separates the rural section from the residential. What am I talking about? What am I doing? It might just be a me thing, but I like the bumpiness. It helps make this section a bit more distinct and helps make the track a bit more distinct as well. Splitting up the track into different sections like this keeps it a bit more memorable and varied. This half is flat and straight, this half is bumpier and curvier. Sneaky usually does a good job with that. One last particular point of the track that I'd like to point out is this straightaway with the moving ramps. It may seem like a pretty straightforward design, but just picture this. Imagine if these ramps weren't there. They just disappeared, gone, reduced to atoms. I think it's safe to say this part would become a lot more boring. I know I throw that word around a lot, boring, but for real, it just wouldn't be as fun. Sure, it wouldn't be the longest stretch of road to exist with nothing going on, but it would be the longest stretch of road in the track with nothing going on. Well, second longest, but that part at least has a change of scenery and a bridge, and considering the rest of the track is pretty good, it would be real unfortunate for this one part to bring it down. But it didn't, so we don't have to worry about that. The ramps help speed things up, and they're on alternate sides of the road, double boom, and to make it even better, they move, so it's different depending on how much time has passed, triple boom. Twin Peaks even has its own version of this. This path here would be way longer and way more boring if it hadn't been for these boosts. Like the Plains one, but even longer. But luckily for us, they're there. Speeds things up, alternating sides, boom is doubled. Granted, they don't move, but the train is there to make sure things don't feel the same every time, so you can't just take every boost there is. You gotta be careful. Did someone say triple boom? All in all, Crystal Plains is a terrible name because there were hardly any crystals and it was not at all plain, both visually and play-yearly. Good track, good track. Speaking of peaks, let's talk about peaks. The good one, I mean. One track that Twin Peaks by Suckta kind of reminds me of is Moo Moo Meadows. Yes, it is only because of the fact it has cows. Nothing else connects the two but the cows. And the barn. And the song. And the cows. My relationship with the meadows is a bit complicated. I want to like it a lot more than I do. It's got cute little cows wandering around here. How can you not love it? I like the concept, I love the music, the cows are the best thing ever, but the track itself kind of sucks. It isn't that bad, but it does leave a lot to be desired. I realize that this is literally the second track in the entire game, so it can't do too much, but I wish that it could. I really wish it could. And Twin Peaks takes the meadows to a whole new level. Trains, rivers, mud spots, cows, ghost cows, mountains, one mountain, just one, so why call it Twin Peaks if it's just the one? Right off the bat, there's a train you gotta look out for. Usually it strikes right here at the turn, so it's kinda blind. I say kinda because it's actually not all that blind if I'm being honest. The railroads act as an indicator that, hey, something's going to be moving on the center of the road, I should move over to the side. And the opening camera show the train rolling full speed toward the racers right before it fades to black, so basically you should have seen it coming. But he also can't really blame you if you didn't see it coming. It's not as clear as it could be, I guess. Oh well. There was an attempt made, that's something. I already mentioned the straightaway here, and the tunnel, so I'm just gonna skip past that. Yes, the river. It's a river. Man, Twin Peaks is even harder to explain than Crystal Plains. I like this river. I think I like this river. It's cool. It's got enough going on to where it doesn't feel pointless. I like this cut over here at the end where you drift right before the tree and skip that turn. It probably doesn't even save much, if at all, but it just looks really cool. I also like that the edges here don't count as off-road, so you can cut into the bridge really tight. Okay, it's not that tight, but it's nice. What? Shut up. Onto the cow ones, my favorite part. I really like driving next to the cows. They're awesome. Who doesn't love cows? The mud puddles, or muddles as I never call them, are a neat gimmick and add a bit of a challenge for you to go on a ramp and get an item. Completely unnecessary, but a welcome addition. So this part is my favorite part of the track, but why? If I'm being honest, I don't know. It doesn't really do anything particularly noteworthy in terms of gameplay aside from the cows and the mud ramps. Even then, it's nothing too special. Not really the most intriguing part of the track on an objective level, as objective as it can get for something like this. But something about the shape of the road, the cows walking back and forth across it, the ramps, the train threatening to cut you off at any given moment, something about all this just mixes it together into the perfect blend of chaos. And chaos is what makes things fun. It's what makes Mario Kart, Mario Kart. This part, although not very special in what it does, manages to make things a lot more interesting. Or at least it does to me. The rest of the track takes place in the village. Not much happens here, really. There are some speed boosts to help speed things up, as opposed to speed boosts to help slow things down. There's this huge shortcut around here where you can cut in between houses, but we'll talk about that a bit later. And this last part here with the town hall cuts off a corner and protects you from the train. Should you always take this route? I don't know, maybe. I don't. I don't know why I don't, and I don't care. Anyway, lap's over, that's the track. GG, I like it. So the point has been made that both of these tracks are pretty strong with both their visuals and their gameplay. However, these tracks are not without their faults. Albeit they're pretty small, but they're still there. Crystal Plains, if I'm being honest, is kind of uninteresting in how well built it is. I still think it's a really good track, it's fun to race on and all, it's just not as fun to talk about. It doesn't have any quirks or gimmicks like Twin Peaks, you know? It isn't super wonky, it doesn't have much of an interesting background or setting. It's just a really well-made track that also plays really well. Is that really much of a downside? I don't know. Also, this shortcut here at the beginning, the one where it looks like you can break through these boxes and come out the other side, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. It's a lie. A sham. I tried all I could. Versus, time trial, stars, megas, bullets even, nothing. Why is it there? Just to taunt me? Rude. As for Twin Peaks, it's a lot more interesting to talk about, but it's also a bit more flawed. For one thing, this curve here at the end of the track is a bit big. I know it has to be a bit big, but I'm not a big fan of it. I don't really mind this turn, I just feel there could have been something different here. As for what, I'm not sure, so maybe I shouldn't even brought it up at all. Also, right here, the train rides across the track rather than along the track like in other parts. Similar to how Wigglers walked across the path in other tracks I've covered. Yes, I will keep bringing the Wigglers up. No, I will not get over it. However, whereas the Wigglers didn't mind taking their time and were just being general nuisances, the train here knows it's got to get out of the way. It's got somewhere to be. TLDR, it moves faster. Now you might be thinking, but dude, you can't even properly explain why you like these tracks so much, and several things you said you didn't mind about these tracks you complained about with other tracks. You're just nitpicking and biased, and you're a bad critic. Well, you're not wrong. So now it's time to ask a big question that's been on the back of my mind this whole time. Why do these two tracks work, yet every other track I've reviewed this far don't? That's a good question. You might say it's because of the visuals. Not entirely, of course, but the way a track looks is important to how well people are going to think of it. How a track looks is the first thing people are going to notice about it, so it needs to leave a good impression. If you take a look at any one of the tracks I've reviewed before this video, the difference between those and these two are night and day. They couldn't be any more different in terms of polish and prettiness. It's almost unfair to compare the two. All the other tracks I've talked about have been dull, lifeless, uninspired, and didn't provide much for the player to look at. These two absolutely do not fail in the visual department, if I didn't make that clear enough. They're stylized, the look and feel of the track actually complements the rest of the track. Nothing really feels out of place or unnecessary. Closest thing to that is the river section in Twin Peaks by... Wow, I sure gave that a try. But even then, the realism isn't that much of a hindrance, and it's a massive upgrade from the original version, so I can forgive it. Perhaps it's the exploration value. Every other track has been empty and confined to the road the racers are supposed to be on. Yeah, but explorability isn't necessary for a good track. Crystal Plains, as lovely as it is, doesn't have a whole lot to explore. Most there is this ending section with the dirt road, but the most you'll find there are shortcuts, so I don't really think that counts. With Twin Peaks, it has its fair share of exploration value, and it definitely adds to the quality, but even without the exploration value, I still think it'd be a good track. Now, a track can look very pretty and can have a lot of explorability and whatnot, but if it plays like garbage, it's gonna be a garbage track. Two primary examples of this are Heart of China and Star Slope. Heart of China has been one of the most divisive tracks in history purely because of how it plays. It has a ton of exploration value. There is a lot more than meets the eye with this one. However, that doesn't prevent it from having a bad layout. The open world with all these different paths for the player to go on might sound like a good idea on paper, but with the way it's executed here, it overwhelms the player with choices, making it more difficult to navigate and especially to memorize. You gotta remember, they're usually going 80 to 90 kilometers an hour, so they don't have a lot of time to think about where they're going, which often causes inexperienced racers to get lost easily. If you have to put arrows at every turn and even on the freaking minimap, chances are you're gonna want to work out your design a bit more. As for Star Slope, it looks beautiful. It's gorgeous, very glossy, but the gameplay is just cancerous. I know it sounds like I'm being a big ol' edgelord saying that, but there's no better way to describe it. It's cancerous. Some parts are too tight, some parts are too wide. There's speed boosts all over the place, making it difficult to catch up once you fall behind. The slant seems cool at first, but it just makes turns harder to see, no thanks to the homogeneous floor texture, the lack of depth in the road itself, and the walls that only show up once you're close enough to hit them. This turn here gives you no indication that you need to turn 90 degrees to the right, making it very likely you'll hit the wall in an outside drifting vehicle. This cannon takes too long, the massive turn before it also takes too long, and this noodle section is the most god-awful thing I have ever seen in a custom track. I swear. What were they thinking? What were they thinking? All in all, visuals and exploration value have added the track's quality, but the way it plays is the most important. Remember that. It'll be on the test. Neither Crystal Peaks nor Twin Plains have gameplay issues anywhere near as bad as in Star Slope. Both of these tracks provide fair and fun gameplay, which is enough on its own for me to not hate them.
But while we're on the topic of exploration value, why don't we go ahead and wander around in Twin Peaks, see what we might find. That was way too many W's. I couldn't help but notice this toad on the rails. That's hilarious. That's going in the thumbnail for sure. I'm putting that in the thumbnail. What could possibly inspire someone to think of putting that there? I love it. Especially when the train runs it over. So violent. That's alright, it's Toad. No one cares about Toad. Look at this cow over here in the barn. No, he's all alone. Let's go talk to him. I'm gonna name him Jeremy. How's it going, Jeremy? Say, Jeremy, how do you like it here in Twin Peaks? Oh yeah, Ghost Cow. Were you friends with him? No way. You're the ones who tied the toad to the rails? Y'all are legends, dude. Yeah. I got you. Those eyes say it all. Well, Jeremy, it was nice talking to you. I'm gonna go check up on Ghost Cow. See you later. That guy was cool.
Alright, here we are. Now the Ghost Cow's supposed to show up around the 2:45 mark, so we'll be here a while. Better get comfortable. While the Ghost Cow is taking its time to show up, I'd like to give a quick thank you to Jack Roach, Artzumeri Animation, Taco Josh, Neptune777, SMPR, Davcat, Batatino, Jorion, Megapig 9001, Philip, Enrique VloggerTuber, Lambda, Clivitz, and Silent D, and Pichu Gamer for leaving their comments on my other videos. Whether it be for letting me know what I can work on, or to ask a question, or just for the sake of leaving a comment, thanks for that. It's nice to know there are actual people watching my videos and not just bots. Oh, and my family. Thanks to my family for watching my dumb Mario Kart videos. I don't even remotely understand why, but okay. How've the last 20 minutes been? You bored yet? Bored enough to unsub? Good. Lakitu, oh my god, you are so offbeat. Please, just stop. Stop it already. Stop! Oh, there he is, there he is! Wait. I have become one with Ghost Cow. I am Ghost Cow. I deserve that. I deserve that. I got too cocky. Let the power get to my head. I sincerely apologize to you, Ghost Cow. I hope you can find it in your, bovine heart to forgive me. Am I taking it too far? I feel like I'm taking it too far here. It's not funny anymore. Unable to create a ghost? I don't need to be able to create a ghost. I got Ghost Cow. What are you, stupid? Before I get too carried away, allow me to explain why this Ghost Cow is actually here. Remember that huge shortcut I talked about not too long ago? Well, you can cut between this tree and this house, then shroom across the grass and cut off this whole turn that I was complaining about before. Maybe it isn't huge, but it's more than your standard corner cut. Anyhow, you can do this cut on a normal lap 1 and 2, but by the time you get there on lap 3, the Ghost Cow pops up and blocks you from taking it. Fortunately, Ghost Cow is a forgiving soul, so he lets you keep your shrooms if you have any left. I'm not so sure what would happen with a star, though. Someone should find out. I ain't doing it. Probably acts as a wall. Now, where exactly did this Ghost Cow come from? Well, if you look at this here roadside billboard, you'll see a message reading, "Save the cows," with a thanks to user KD Jungle. Now, what is this here about? If we take a look at KD Jungle's 2015 video Rescue Operation, you'll see a real, authentic cow that is not a daisy in disguise trying to rescue a fellow cow from being stuck in a fence. Unfortunately, the cow was unable to free itself despite the noble efforts of its companion, leading to its untimely death. Just a fair warning here, the following footage is hard to watch. It's pretty disturbing. Cover your eyes, kids. You hate to see it, But now that cow lives on as a local legend and stops this cut from being abused at the last second. Incredible work. And that cow who tried to save Ghost Cow's life? I have a theory that right there is Jeremy, the one and only. The trauma from the experience and the guilt from being unable to save its friend's life have left him devastated. Since the incident, he spends his time pacing at the barn, a place those two would regularly meet up. Poor Jeremy. May he find inner peace someday. Okay, now I'm really taking it too far. In all seriousness, I really like how T-Such leaned into the whole thing. Whereas another creator would patch the glitch and call it a day, he made it into a feature of the track and a prominent attraction to the small village of Twin Peaks. And he used the ghost cow to block this cut instead of an invisible wall or a fence. 2 for 1. Come to think of it, I probably should have expected a guy with this me would have a sense of humor. I love it. Good stuff, Such Touch. Good stuff. I like to think that the ghost cow speaks in the typical, ooh, cliche ghost talk, but also moves like a regular cow, so it's more like, moo, I'm a ghost cow. Oh, that's stupid. I'm having way too much fun with this. I'm actually gonna cut it right here so I don't make the video a half-hour long again. Ah, shoot. These 2 tracks were a nice little treat to play after the onslaught of terribleness that I've played so far. Crystal Plains was a very polished, Nintendo-esque track, and Sneaky really brought that little village there to life. Something not very many custom tracks can pull off. It was fun, legitimately fun. You don't know how happy I am to say that after 95 minutes of whining about boredom. It's varied enough to not get repetitive, it's good to look at, it's fun to play, and I don't know how anybody can possibly think otherwise. Overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. For real. As for Twin Peaks, I also enjoyed it quite a bit. The train provided a solid enemy in an area where it would otherwise be an uninteresting straightaway. The village, although not as sleek as the one in Crystal Plains, still managed to feel like its own little world. The environment was fleshed out very nicely. It's packed with little details and Easter eggs that really make the whole thing come together. The toad on the rails and the ghost cow added a real nice touch. Those are just chef's kiss. Those are beautiful. Overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 as well. The ghost cow actually adds +1 ghost point to the score. It doesn't actually affect the rating, but I like to think it does. +1 ghost point. As a reward for creating such beautiful works of Mario Kart art, Mario Kart, I
Lugia.
bestoweth upon thee, Sneaky and Such Tea, the coveted official, unofficial Lugia seal of quality. You may take pride in yourselves for creating some of the best custom tracks known to man. With the official, unofficial Lugia seal of quality, you obtain the greatest power of all, bragging rights. Do with this power what you must, but remember, with great power comes great power. I don't know how to end the video. I suck at ending videos. Thanks for watching. See you all around. These tracks are good. Something something. That's it. Go away.